Hello, guys. It is Wednesday, June 3rd. June 3rd, I believe, 2015. As you can notice, my background has changed a little bit. I am back home after college. Have a part-time job, not a complete failure yet. Anywho, it is Comics Day. I know this isn't like the best lighting setup, but it's the best I can do right now. Plus I have a painting in the background, so that's kind of nice, not just a blank wall. I'm sitting on a couch, which is comfy. Anywho, yes, comic book day, lots of new things. DC is over Convergence, so they just kind of soft rebooted their whole line. So let's review that this video, and in the next video we'll tackle Swords of Sorcery and all the Marvel stuff I picked up this week. And I've wasted a minute already, so let's jump into Bat-Mite #1. And the first thing you notice about this book is that it's cute. I'm just gonna it's a cute book. You open the first page and you look at Bat-Mite and he's sad and you just want to like hug him and pick him up and squish him and squeeze him. And he's just really cute. And this book walks a very, very fine line. I mean, it stays on the right side, which is good. It stays on the right side of a very, very fine line between kind of precocious and annoying. Like the thing this most reminded me of is actually Animaniacs. Because Bat-Mite is an annoying character. He's very much in the vein of Scrappy-Doo in his whole kind of MO. You know, in that he wants to be Batman, he wants to help Batman out, and all that sort of thing. And he gets on Batman's nerves and everybody's nerves, really. But unlike Scrappy-Doo, and more like the Animaniacs, he doesn't annoy the reader. He annoys everybody in the story. He annoys everybody in universe. But he's not annoying to the reader. And that's a very, very fine line, of course. But this issue walks it stays on the right side of the line. Bat-Mite is very much like Yakko or Wacko Warner, in that their antics are enjoyable. You know, they're annoying, but not to the reader. They're enjoyable to the reader and annoying to everybody else. And the art has a lot to do with that. It is very cartoony art for a modern-day DC comic book. Everything's really nice and colorful and saturated, and all the proportions are really cartoony. Bat-Mite has a kind of perfectly round head. It's just a very fun book, and I hope that it really continues to survive on the right side of that line, on the right side of the annoying, the characters who annoy the player line, because if it does, it can be a really fun book. Very much, as I said, reminded me a lot of Animaniacs, which is still one of the best cartoons ever made, so there you go with that. And from there on, I want to move to Batman Beyond. Also written by Dan Jurgens, same writer as Bat-Mite. But where this one walked a very, very fine line between kind of, just funny and then groan-worthy. This one opens on a building called Fort Firewall. And honestly, thank goodness, that is the worst it gets. Because I opened that, I read that line, Fort Firewall, I checked, this can't be the same. No, it's the same guy. And I just wanted to be like, no, what happened? What happened, Dan Jurgens? But thankfully that is the worst of it. And it quickly redeems itself because just on the other side of the page here, one of the characters, a Joker, as we find out from the TV show. I haven't read any Batman Beyond comics other than this one, actually, but I have watched the television show. In the television show, there's this gang called the Jokers, with a Z, because 90s. or early 2000s, I guess. It might have been like late 99, I guess. I forget exactly when Batman Beyond came out. But there's this gang called the Jokers with the Z. So we're opening on them, breaking into Fort Firewall. And one of them says Shui, which just reminds me of one of the best scenes in the original Batman Beyond book. I mean, in the Batman Beyond television show, where Terry McGinnis and Bruce Wayne, old Bruce Wayne, are at a play, and the play is a dramatization of Bruce's time as Batman. It's a musical, and Terry's talking to Bruce, and like Bruce is complaining about the whole thing because it's not a good musical. We see it in the show. It's really crappy, and so Terry's like, it's supposed to be the best the best show in town. It's Shui, and Bruce just looks over at Terry and says, "It's Schwarbage," and that's brilliant. It's great. So get quickly redeemed for Fort Firewall with Shui. And speaking of the '90s, which of course this show might have come from, the impression I had from this book, from everything really, from the storyline, from the art design, everything about this book is still very much a 90s version of the future. And that is really weird, because, and obviously, like, every time period has their own version of the future. Like, if you go back to the 50s and the 60s, you have this very space age, everything's clean, sterile, with red hoops and swooshes and everything, flying cars, the Jetsons, that sort of thing, and that's their vision of the future. Go to the 80s, and you have, like, the Blade Runner kind of neo-noir future, and in the 90s, we have this, like, neo-noir cyberpunk sort of future, and then that's kind of disappeared in the 2000s, where now we have a very kind of dystopian urban future. Very much, I think like the dominant vision of the future right now is kind of Hunger Games. So it's weird to go back to a 90s vision of the future, which is kind of Blade Runner meets Neuromancer. And this book just kind of captures that aesthetic again. And it's weird because, you know, the future shouldn't feel dated, but this one, it's like walking the edge between, it should feel dated maybe? I don't know. But it's really fun to see. And of course we got that old Planet of the Apes shot with as Terry flies through New York City, which is taken over by Brother Eye. I should mention, this does follow immediately from Future's End. So we have, did I say Terry? We have Tim Drake in the Batman Beyond suit. Tim is the new Batman Beyond after Terry died in Future's End. Tim is now in the future, where Brother Eye is taken over everything except, it seems, for Gotham. Main story so far is that Tim is going to New York City to visit the Lodge, which is an outpost. Supposedly humans are there, and so that's the main setup of the story. Nothing too great yet. Nothing incredibly, like incredible, I guess. Kind of a slow start, but it does a good enough job introducing us to this new world. It quickly established that even the Alfred AI, even the Alfred artificial intelligence in Tim's Batsuit, is not quite sure what has changed in this future since Future's End. So all the characters are kind of learning things as we go along in the story. And just something about the art I wanted to point out as I'm flipping through this book. Again, this is a very unfocused review. Is the way that the Batsuit sticks out from everything else, just because it's so black. It is black, almost shadowless, featureless in some shots. And it really does stand out. It is a very well-designed costume. Very simple but striking with the black on, the red on black. I really like the costume. But yeah, not much to actually talk about past aesthetics in this book. This story hasn't really gone that far yet. We have a quick fight between Batman Beyond and a Brother Eye Superman robot thing. We have Tim going into the lodge and finding some people there. But there's not much else really going on. Hard to say whether or not you should pick it up. Whether you're a fan of Batman Beyond or not, this is a new Batman Beyond. This is a new kind of very post-apocalyptic future. So, yeah, I mean, I said a lot, but without saying much, I guess. Next up, we have Green Arrow, issue 41. I'm trying this book for the fourth time or something. I keep on flipping back and forth because Green Arrow is a character I want to like. I've been watching Arrow the TV show. I liked the second season a lot. Third season had really good moments, I thought. But I haven't really gotten into the comic book Green Arrow, so I keep on trying, and I hit some good parts, I hit some bad parts. This seems to be a very good part. The main tone overall, well, the main story so far in issue 41 is that there's this mysterious guy, this white guy over here, this very pale guy over here, who seems to be committing a series of murders, specifically targeting black males in Seattle. So very, very timely story, I guess you can say, with the a kind of very strong focus on murders of innocent black males, or so it should seem. And that's the main story. We don't get much into it. A few of them are killed. We're slightly introduced to the villain, but Oliver hasn't really met him yet. Speaking of Oliver, he's giving a lot of narration through this book about how Seattle is gray and is a stranger and full of other strangers, and he feels very isolated in the city. There's not much Arrow action in this book yet. We also meet this character, the Crow Lady, who people regard as a freak. Oliver says he used to make fun of her, but now he respects her, he listens to her, he thinks, as part of the street, she has knowledge that can be very useful to him. But yeah, this isn't a very story-driven book as of yet, not very plot-driven. There's a mysterious kind of shadowy figure somehow related to the Pale Man and the death of the black people, or the murders of the black people, rather. Most of the action in this book, or the Arrow action, is Arrow stopping a mugging in a bad part of town, and then breaking up a dog fighting ring where he rescues one of the dogs. Of course, I was reminded of Hawkeye, because in the first issue, Hawkeye rescues a dog, Lucky. And they're both, Arrow archery-based superheroes. Anywho, the main tone of this book, which is the one I wanted to get to in the beginning, now that everything else is out of the way, is very noir. It's a very gray, rainy book, as you can tell from some of the pages I showed. Yeah, the whole book is dark and gray and full of rain, and Oliver's narration is very kind of hard-boiled detective. Like, that's the best way I could describe it. He's talking about how the city is a place full of strange... Let me just read some of the narration directly, actually. Yeah. Everything is a shadow. It's easy to feel invisible in Seattle, a city of strangers. This sense of invisibility, anonymity, is made worse by the constant fog which hangs like a shroud, makes everything half-glimpsed. It can make people think they can get away with anything, even murder, as we discover the first body. And then the narration continues. This isn't narration. This is just Oliver talking. Let me find it. I should have. Where is it? Where is it? I can't find it. Why can't I find Oliver talking about listening to the streets, which he talks about. And it's so, yeah. Oh, it is a narration. Sundown, no moon. Night is the best time to listen to the street. Night is when its whispers become a shout. I'm headed southeast towards Pennytown, a blah 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 blah. Yeah, towards Pennytown, a neighborhood that looks like it had its teeth knocked out. If you're looking for trouble, you'll find it here. I'm looking for trouble. Yeah, just very, very noir detective sort of feel with Green Arrow in this book. And I like it, gotta say. I do like the noir kind of place that this book is going. I'm going to continue reading it. Hopefully I won't stop reading it for a mysterious reason this time, which has usually been happening with Green Arrow. But yeah, a lot of this book I did like. I like the noir feeling, even if from just my kind of preconceptions of Seattle isn't noir at all. I have family near there. I visited once. It seems like a really nice city, actually. It's gonna have to take some getting used to for me to see it as noir, especially because it's not, it's not New York. It's not like London. It's the first time I've ever heard of Seattle being a noir city. So that's gonna take some getting used to. But this book is very well written for it. Even if Oliver is 25, he does pull off the hard-bitten detective pretty well. And a lot of the dialogue is actually really good. A lot of it feels, it's very expressive. All the characters. There's the guy with the dog fighting ring who named his dog George, and he's explaining why he named him George, and it's really well-written stuff. So yes, I liked Green Arrow, and seems like a really good jumping on point. So there is that. Next up is Midnighter #1, and this, again, I haven't read the Marvel books this week, but so far this is the best book I've read this week. Just very, very well done. One of the best issue #1s I have read ever, I gotta say. It does a great job introducing Midnighter, introducing the story, but really, really introducing Midnighter as a character. Everything in this issue 1 sets up who Midnighter is, who he hangs around with, what he does, both as a hero and not being a hero. Yeah, in these however many pages it is, we get a lot of character development for a hero that, not everyone is familiar with. I'm not especially familiar with Midnighter, and this book does a great job just setting him up and telling us who he is. This book is spinning out of Grayson, so we start where we kind of meet Midnighter and Grayson, or where we're introduced to Midnighter's kind of home, the God Garden, which is being broken into by a mysterious person who is stealing some sort of weapon from the God Garden. And that is the main plot setup. We're then introduced to Midnighter, who is on a date. Midnighter, it seems, uses Grindr. He is a gay superhero, so he's on a date with another guy. And it's played completely straight. Bad word. But they don't really play up the fact. They're not saying, oh, he's gay, look at him being all gay, or whatever. It's played very matter-of-factly as, yes, he's gay. Not a big deal. His sexuality doesn't define him as a character. Instead, as he so helpfully points out after a terrorist attack in the cafe he's on a date in, how he defines himself is by this computer in the back of his head and all of his extra superhuman enhancements that he uses to kick ass. And the fight scene that we're given here is, again, very good character building. Because he enjoys it. He enjoys fighting. He enjoys being brutal, and this fight scene translates that perfectly. He's fast. He's effective. He is pretty much not invincible, but he knows what everyone's doing before they do. His brain is on super speed. He almost has a precognition. He can know everything that's going to happen, know the result of every move he does before every move his opponent does before they know they're even going to make it. And we see here these kind of X-ray flashes into all these people. He's breaking their bones. He's really enjoying getting to do this, getting to fight people. And the fight itself, because of the precognition and everything, reminds me of, and he's saying, I know every move you do. He's bragging towards the terrorists. It struck me as a combination of kind of Spider-Man, Mortal Kombat, and the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies. The ones with Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock, and whenever there's a fight scene, he's like, I jab him in his right kidney to paralyze him, follow that with an elbow to the head, and he's kind of talking through the fight as it's happening. But then, after that fight, we continue just with kind of Midnighter's out-of-costume antics. He has a straight best friend, and I love this. I love how they're kind of flipping the script on that. Instead of a gay best friend to help with relationship advice, Midnighter, who is gay, has a straight best friend to dispense relationship advice. And it's so clever. It's clever little things like that that really flesh out this world and make this book enjoyable. Also, Midnighter cheats at pool, giving even more insight to this character. He's not above using his superpowers for personal gain, no matter how petty. This book isn't afraid, even though it plays him being gay matter of fact, it plays that also fully. It doesn't shy away from it either, as evidenced by the gay sex scene teased in the book. This book feels very comfortable with this character, and showing new readers, this is a number one, this is a starting point, showing new readers everything every detail about who this character is. It's very brave, it's very comfortable, and it's very, very good. It's very well written. Just incredibly good book, not a single panel wasted. Every panel either contributes to introducing the character or introducing the story. The main plot is pretty bare in this book, but again, it's more of a character piece, and it is one of the best number ones that I have read in a long, long time, if not one of the best I've ever read. So, good on this book. Just brilliant. Just really, really good book. Moving on to Action Comics, number 41. First kind of new Superman issue since Convergence. And that does pose as part of a problem, because we open on Superman, who is shirtless, homeless, powerless, in the Alaskan wilderness. And we don't know how he got there. We're told, in order to find out how Superman got like this, also everybody knows Superman's identity, and we're told, in order to find out what happened, what led to this point, we are supposed to read Superman, issue 41. The problem being that Superman, issue 41, has not come out yet. So until it comes out in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, we have nothing to go on. Which isn't the preferred way of reading things. And this book it does expect you to know. It does kind of expect you to know, okay, this is where Superman is. This is, maybe the, Superman 41 doesn't explain why he's powerless, but it does explain, okay, he's powerless. This is why he's shirtless. Just kind of things that we as readers might like to know before jumping into this story completely blind. And this happens twice. The second time they acknowledge that the book isn't out yet, where's the caption? They say, yeah, read next month Superman number 42. So this book's kind of shameless about you're not getting a complete story, or even beginning to get a complete story out of this single book. But yeah, what we are told is that Superman he's not completely powerless, but he's severely weakened. Um, Everybody knows his identity. Everyone knows Clark Kent is Superman, and he recently lost his costume at the Fortress of Solitude. So we follow Superman, presumably coming back from the Fortress of Solitude, which is why he's in Alaska, on his way home back from Metropolis, or to Metropolis from Alaska. And we're basically taking this ride with Clark Kent as he's adjusting to having no powers, or weakened powers at this state. And this book does a really good job of, I guess, re-endearing Superman, or introducing the Superman as a more human Superman than we might be used to. Really good job of it with Superman eating. Superman, he just stops at like a gas station or whatever, buys his shirt because he doesn't have a shirt. He considers the Superman shirt, but he doesn't feel like it. So instead he gets a shirt that says "Eat Your Greens," which I thought was hilarious. Just a big "Eat Your Greens" shirt. I really liked it. So anyway, back to Superman being human. Aside from buying a shirt, the first thing he does is buy a burrito. And he eats the burrito, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is delicious!" And I think everyone has been there once or twice, like at least once in their life. Either you're starving, or you're under the influence of drugs or something. But you eat, crappy gas station burrito or whatever, 7-Eleven burrito, and for that moment, it is the most delicious thing. You're like, "Oh my goodness, where has this been all my life?" And it's just a really relatable thing like that, that makes the Superman, who is very different from the Superman we're used to at this point, a very endearing, very likable, very relatable character. Then Superman gets into a fight at the gas station. As I said, he's weakened but not completely powerless, so even though he gets knocked on the head pretty badly, he still manages to kick everybody away, or punch everybody away. In a kind of speedy manner. He then hops on a bike and drives cross-country to Metropolis, where, and he ended up picking up the Superman shirt after the fight. I guess he got his groove back a little bit. Anyway, we drive back to Metropolis, where we see that the cops don't really like him for some reason. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't like Superman, but the cops don't like him for some reason. Neither did the people at the gas station, but they kind of just seem like crappy people. However, it isn't all lost. His home neighborhood likes him. Once they find out Clark Kent was Superman, they know where he lives, and everybody in the neighborhood where Clark Kent lived, they throw a Superman party, a Superman homecoming, because of course, he helped them out a lot, and kids love Superman because, of course, kids love Superman. Why wouldn't kids love Superman? And he is still Superman, as we discover later in the book, because as soon as there is an emergency, he goes off to fight it. Even very vulnerable, he goes off to punch the big shadowy creature that would normally hurt him a lot. Or normally not be a threat, but in this state would hurt him. He still goes in, fists blazing, I guess, to fight off the threat, because he's still Superman, no matter what. So yeah, I still, as confusing as this book is at this point, without all the other issues explaining how we got to this point, I really liked it. I just do. As you might have noticed if you've watched my other Superman-based videos, I like Superman. I like this character of Superman. I just think he's very endearing. I don't see anything not to like about Superman. He's just so gosh darn likable. And yes, Superman has lost his powers dozens, if not hundreds of times. This isn't an original conceit for a Superman story. But I do like how every time it happens, they have to make him more relatable. Now he's vulnerable. Here's how a vulnerable Superman works. How, here's what the core of Superman's character is, minus the powers. And I think that's the best part of Superman is, his character, his moral fiber, his willingness to put himself in danger for the sake of other people, and all that. Even when he's grumpy, he still is Superman and still is the best of us. So, yeah, I liked Action Comics number 41. And the last DC book I picked up this week is Justice League number 41, Start of the Darkseid War. Jeff Johns, Justice League. This book has been recently been a bit on and off. And this seems to continue that kind of meh sort of trend. First big thing being that I'm not entirely sure when this book is supposed to take place. I want to guess pre-Convergence, which is weird considering it's post-Convergence. Like, everything is moving post-Convergence. You'd think Justice League would follow, but no. In this Justice League book, a bit of spoilers here, but Superman still has all his powers and his costume. Bruce Wayne is still Batman. However, Cyborg is you have the new post-Convergence Cyborg, which is weird. Then again, I don't really know when that story is supposed to take place. But yeah, just the timeline is a bit off right now. Also because there was some hints of the Darkseid War at the end of Convergence. So yeah, no, everything's just a bit weird timeline-wise. But we open with a woman called Marina Black being murdered by soldiers of Apocalypse. And then we start on Mr. Miracle, who is scot-free. Mr. Miracle, the master escape artist, originally from New Genesis, raised on Apocalypse, breaking into Darkseid's throne room to find the Justice League, who he believes to be the only force in the universe capable of stopping Darkseid. We also have narration by Wonder Woman as she kind of goes over why the Justice League are united, how they're all kind of searching for what's out there, what they can do, how all the heroes in the Justice League have a journey. They then investigate the murder we saw in the opening of this book, because, why did Soldiers of Apocalypse murder this random woman? It's kind of mysterious. The Justice League are on the case, and I like how they really have all the Justice League being useful. Batman and the Flash are both investigating the crime scene, Batman being world's greatest detective, Flash being a police forensic scientist, so he, of course, he's contributing to that. Green Lantern and Power Ring are using their rings to scan for evidence and stuff and go microscopic and all that. And as Shazam's there, I guess, Cyborg led Captain Marvel. Cyborg led the Justice League there. Captain Marvel, Shazam is part of the Justice League now. He's not really doing much yet, I guess. And then we catch up with Superman and Lex Luthor. This is directly post the Amazovirus arc, which was the last story arc. So Neutron is still receiving treatment by Lex Luthor for his cancer. Superman's just keeping an eye on things, I guess. Yeah, and then kind of out of nowhere during the Justice League CSI investigation, this woman pops out of Barry's mouth, and there's a fight scene where, if you read the Justice League Divergence preview, then you know who this is, but I'm not going to really spoil it. I really hope they explain it again in the story. They do explain in this issue that she is an Amazon. But yeah, so she kind of kicks the Justice League's ass. Scott-free fights off the soldiers that we saw before. And then the rest of this issue is kind of a messily done fight scene where it looks like more people die than they do. Shazam gets stabbed in the back, and she says, "I hate to end them so young," but then later in the book, he's fine. Same with Batman, who she seems to murder, but is fine. Same with Barry Allen, whose mouth she popped out of, but he isn't said to be dead yet. So yeah, just a very confusing fight scene where it seems like nobody dies, even though I guess they should have. And nothing's really explained. Superman's sister Lana shoots not Superman's sister. Lex Luthor's sister Lana shoots Lex, and it turns out she's somehow allied with Darkseid. Yeah, just a lot of confusing things happen. The Anti-Monitor gets summoned in the middle of this book, or by the end of this book. But then we cut to Scott-free again, meeting Marina Black, who is on a mission to kill Darkseid. So this book is just kind of a mess. A lot happens. Not all of it is made entirely clear. Yeah, it's just too much happening all at once, with none of it being very well explained. Probably the weakest book of the bunch so far. Which, I mean, I don't want to say. I want to like Justice League. I want to like Jeff Johns. I've liked a lot of Jeff Johns' stuff in the past. But it's just not well done. It's just not... It just doesn't make sense. It's not well written. It's not... Yeah, there's just so much more that can be done. And I don't know why he feels like throwing everything into the first issue, but yeah, it's not a very well put together book, unfortunately. Yeah, just way too confusing, way too much happening for its own good. And that is it for the DC books. Hate to end it on a low note, but, well, I did. Again, if you're interested in the Marvel books this week, or Sword of Sorrows, Sword of Sorcery, that is in the next part of this video. Thank you for joining me in this one. By the way, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more of these every week, please subscribe. Any comments or whatever, feel free to leave them down below. And I hope you'll join me again for some more comic book reviews. Thank you for watching.